if I had done drugs in high school, it'd be a mess.
I've never done a drug.
You've never smoked pot?
I've never smoked pot.
We can record. Are we recording? Oh, great. Well, welcome. Welcome to The Downside. My name's Gianmarco Soresi. This is one of my first episodes without my... I'm in LA. I forgot. You can talk during this. I do the intro thing, but like you can.
What if I didn't talk during the whole recording? You thought what was stopping me from talking was that you were doing the intro, but actually what's stopping me from talking is I'm just a really bad guest.
That would be. Who knows? I know you're from Twitter. I mean, you wouldn't be the first Twitter comedian to kind of bomb in person.
Damn, that's
all right.
cold. That's cold. That's so cold.
So I'm here in LA. My co-host Russell Daniels is not here. But I'm very excited that my guest today is my girlfriend's client, or he might not be here. So please welcome to the show, Caleb Hearon. Welcome to The Downside.
I wouldn't have come if Russ was here because we have beef.
You have beef?
Yeah, I just decided. We've never met. I've never spoken to the person, but I think I've decided that we have beef. Otherwise, why wouldn't he?
That's
going to
make him anxious. He's the kind that's
why wouldn't he
come
and do the show in LA?
Because he's in New York with his wife and his new dog and.
Oh, I thought you were going to say new daughter.
No.
Kid?
No. Then he should quit the podcast if he has a daughter.
It's crazy when comedy people start having kids, don't you think?
Yes. I find the ones that do, I go, oh, I didn't know your parents were rich.
And then you find out they were. Is that what you're saying?
Because they have a kid. I'm like, how? Who's going to pay for the food for the child?
Who's going to feed the kid?
And that's when you find out, oh, okay.
Yeah.
We can play that first theme music. I normally have buttons.
1, 2,
but here we go.
Downside. You're listening to The Downside.
The Downside.
With Gianmarco Soresi.
So again, thank you for being on The Downside. This is an interview show where we focus on the negatives. We focus on the things that are depressing. And when I'm in LA, boy, do I feel depressed.
Stop.
I do.
Stop.
LA is the kind of town where you really feel like, oh, I haven't done anything with my life.
I don't feel that.
You go to parties and everyone's like, oh, I remember. So when I graduated college, there was, you went to New York, you went to LA.
Drop the name of the college you went to.
University of Miami.
Go Cyclones?
May it go away. Hurricanes?
Go Hurricane. You didn't know?
But I went to one football game.
Sure.
We lost 36-0.
Sure, yeah. Okay.
The mascot was a bird. A kind of bird that's specific. I hate it. I hate it. Nothing but bad things to say.
Go Hurricanes ?
Go Hurricanes. But I remember my girlfriend at the time, we broke up. I went to New York. She went to LA.
Sorry.
Classic acting story.
Yeah.
And I remember the first week we called and she was like, guess where I just took a shit? And I was like, what? Steven Spielberg's house. And that's when I knew I'd made the mistake.
Of going to New York.
Because I took a shit in a McDonald's
in
restaurant.
the M&M store in Times Square.
That was it. I wish they wouldn't even let me into the bathroom at the M&M store.
I wanted to go. The story of my whole life has been the sentence, next I'm moving to New York. That was in high school I was going to move to New York, and then I didn't because I got a scholarship to go stay in Missouri for school. And then in college I was going to move to New York, and I lived there for 2 summers in undergrad, and I loved it. I love New York. And then I was like, after college, for sure. This is what we're waiting on.
Yeah.
You can go anywhere in the world. And then a bunch of my friends were like, we're going to Chicago to do comedy. And I was like, why? And because I didn't know anything about I didn't study acting. I wasn't like a big, all my friends were like comedy biography and comedy documentary. And they were big comedy people.
Yeah.
I did improv with them, but wasn't really. And so they were like, oh, there's a really good scene there. And I was like, okay. So I went to Chicago. And then I was like, I'm going to be in Chicago for 3 to 5 years. And then I'm going to go to New York. And then when it was time to leave Chicago, I was like, I'm fucking going to LA.
You should. It was I think Chicago, if I could go back, I think Chicago, a smaller place.
Yes.
I was an actor before I was a comedian.
Yeah.
And go be on Chicago Fire, be on all the Chicago Fire, police,
Med,
hospital,
PD, fire.
morgue, and then get those little roles and
Yes.
then move somewhere. Go
Yes.
somewhere small.
Yes.
New York's a nightmare. This would be a nightmare. Do you think LA would be a nightmare if you weren't, who you are?
Well,
You came here with some things going on.
Well, I got very
some
lucky.
things cooking.
I did get very lucky. But I think that my whole thing about moving to LA was I trusted that something would happen in LA, but I didn't have a job before I moved to LA. I moved to LA just because I was ready to move from Chicago. I had my team and things like that. But my thing about moving to LA was if I got canceled immediately, if I stepped foot in LA and a bunch of old tweets were uncovered and I was never allowed to work again, that I was just excited for having a car again and the weather and
Yes.
the new restaurants and stuff about LA that wasn't work stuff. But work stuff is kind of stressful out here. I get what you mean.
I
Everyone's got a
can't
million
drive
things.
is another big thing.
What are you doing?
I mean, the Uber money, I'm bleeding Uber money in the last couple of days. It's
They're
brutal.
like $75 right now, and no one can get one.
It's a long wait. I remember the first time I went to LA like 2 years ago. I remember I got an hour-long Uber to do 5 minutes at a comedy show, and it was only like
That's bleak.
$12, and I was like, "Oh, this is amazing." Not thinking about the exploitation of the laborer.
Yeah.
I just thought this is the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And now they reflect the labor, and I am no longer a socialist.
You hustle though. You do a lot. I do not like to hustle. We were just talking about this before we started recording. I love doing nothing. To me, it's the most beautiful thing in the world. When I have I have so many things on my calendar this week, and for a normal person, probably like a third of what they have, and it's making me sick. I hate the idea of having to be somewhere.
Yeah.
Well,
that's why you should be in LA.
Exactly.
That's why this is the perfect place for you.
And in Chicago, my work ethic was so much better. I was working so hard, and then I got to LA and I started wearing like polos and gym shorts in public, and literally just started like, I'll drink like a coffee, write literally one joke, and be like, today was a good day.
Yeah.
And I feel good about it. I really feel like I'm killing it.
And for most LA comedians, they're like, slow down, take a break. My God, I just wrote a setup this morning. Relax.
You've been too bold.
I have really.
You've been too bold talking shit on LA.
I said, what did I say? I said, LA comedians have more TV credits than punchlines.
True about me.
Yeah.
True about me. I don't care about a punchline. I don't give a fuck. I'm funny. Comics always try to argue it. Comics are always trying to have the comedy arguments.
Yeah, but I think I don't take it seriously. I mean, I think
You do a
but
little.
I'm saying like the really good LA comics aren't insulted because they know, because they're on LA shows all the time. They're really good. Solomon Giorgio commented, he's a great comedian.
Yeah.
It's like the good comics don't mind the disses about LA, because I think like the real stand-up comics.
I don't mind. It means nothing to me. I'm just looking out for you, and I do see a world where people beat your ass for the things you've been saying. Like I see
in LA, they're gonna beat my ass.
Come on, you don't think somebody in LA could beat you up?
No.
I know like 5 lesbians who would put up a fight.
Sure.
Well, I know is lesbians.
So let me just say real quick, because I'm gonna. This is my first time without the co-host, so it's just I feel chaotic right now. I felt anxious, but I knew you'd talk.
I've got you under control.
Thank you. If you're a fan, join the Patreon. It's patreon.com/downside. You get bonus episodes, ad-free episodes. Things are growing, things are cooking, so please check it out. And we're going to talk about you in a second, but I do share some of my own downsides. Something happened at this trip. You visited place. Have you visited New York yet? You visited
During since COVID?
Pre-COVID. Like when you were a comedian, I'm visiting and I'm seeing a lot of people.
Yeah.
At shows, and I've maybe seen them once in my life. We've interacted online maybe. I'm already bad with faces, and I'm bad with names. It's a horrible habit. I don't know if it's prosopagnosia, or I'm a narcissist, or a brain problem that I'm concerned about right now.
Yeah, you could be really ill.
But every show I go to, it's just like, hi, how are you? And I don't know who I've met for the first time, who I've met for the third time. It feels very chaotic.
Can I tell you something?
Yes.
Good to see you.
Sure.
Good to see you is the phrase that fixes this.
But I had the worst. This is the worst thing is I went to the Ocean Mic yesterday, a big outdoor beach show, very fun show. And these two young men were there. They might listen to this podcast. This will be how they find out what happened. These two young men. I just assume they're comedians. When people start talking to me like a lot, I'm like, oh, they must be fellow comics. We're talking.
Yeah.
Didn't have my glasses on, feeling chaotic. Talked to them for like 10 minutes. Met one of their wives. I go to leave. I check my Instagram, and my college stand-up comedy agent tagged me in a post, like seeing Gianmarco do a show. And I was like, oh, fuck, right. My stand-up agent and my college agent came to the show today. Fuck. Why didn't I see them? And then I look at the picture. I'm like,
dude,
holy shit.
Kidding.
Holy shit.
What is wrong with you?
But in my defense, I've met them twice in person.
Gianmarco.
I've met them in the office wearing suits. One of them had a ponytail. Now he has short hair.
You're canceled.
And so I went back and I'm going over the conversation in my head. Like, did I say? I talked to them pleasantly. It's not like I was rude, but I might have said something to them like, "Yeah, stand-up's opening back up. I was just in Spokane last weekend," and they were like, "Yeah, we booked you for that gig.
Yeah,
we were there with all the flight problems and stuff." So I went back and I was like, oh, here's Tova. This is my girlfriend. And I talked to them as my agents, of course. And I'm racked with guilt. I feel like they must have
Yeah.
seen me and thought maybe I was being like aloof to them or like rude or weird.
This is crazed. I can't believe this happened.
And I'm humiliated. And I just characterized in Tova. I was like, did I just ruin these people I've talked to on the phone once a week?
Yeah.
Because lots of gigs coming in.
I'm
And-
booked.
But it's a real problem. And this is the worst. This is the worst that's ever. I've been kind of like, I float through life and I'm like, this is a quirk of mine. I don't know anybody. And I say hi. And this is the first time I was like, you idiot.
You are so brave to tell that story.
I
people
cleared it
wouldn't.
with Tova. I said, Tova, is it okay?
Well, you know I do the same. Most people would not. Most people would not tell this story because you're looking really bad right now. People are judging. They're saying Gianmarco doesn't know the people that he works with.
Yeah.
It's a really bad look. But you're bravely sort of Brene Brown style trailblazing through that. I think that's cool.
But people must approach you because they know you from online. And
Yes.
do you always know, like, do you ever wonder, oh, have I met this person?
well,
or is
they're
this
never
a
my
stranger
agents.
online?
they're never my accountant. They're like a stranger from the world.
Oh my god.
Yes, no, but people do. I will. There are definitely people who like that I should know that I would get midway through a conversation with and be like, saying, yeah, I'll be saying stuff like you're talking about. Like, I'll be like, yeah, thanks so much for coming out. I really appreciate it. And like the way you talk to somebody that you think is like a fan, and then they'll be like, oh, we know each. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I do get caught in those things where I'm like, oh, I forgot. We took like 2 classes together in college, and I guess I followed you on Instagram.
And it's that tone. I think it's that tone where you're talking to someone. Or for me, it's that tone I talk to like a younger comic who's just really nice, and versus the tone with my
It's like a
agents
little professional
where.
distance.
Yeah. We're with the agents. If I knew they were my agents from the beginning, I'd be like, hey, why haven't I got a fucking Funny Bone headlining date yet? I would have talked more aggressively,
Yeah.
been businessy.
Been mean to them.
But I just want to say, I hope you stopped listening to the podcast a long time ago, Joe Flaherty and Matt Bourne. But you are fantastic agents, and you just were in beach clothes, and I normally see you in suits at the office, and I do know you. And Matt, you got a big haircut, and you didn't tell me.
And if any of the listeners represent comedians for touring gigs, reach out because Gianmarco is going to need representation pretty instantaneously after this comes out.
Oh my god. But this is the first time we've met in person.
Yeah.
I did get a cameo from you. Do we have that cameo here right now? I think we can play it.
Did you?
Yeah, you made a cameo for me. Let's
Did I
see.
send it to you personally?
Shout out, John Marcus,
Oh,
Gianmarco. It is such an honor that you like my videos and my work on television, of which there is much. I cannot tell you how much it gets me through the days knowing that average, normal, everyday slice of life people like you are out there loving my comedy and enjoying the stuff I make. I mean, I do it for you guys. I hear you're a fan and you are in really good company. You join many, many others. And I just wanted to tell you, whatever your dreams are, if you want to be a manager at the restaurant you work at, or if you want to go back to school and get a certificate in conflict resolution, or if you want to someday even own a home, or whatever, your simple normal person goals are, you can do it. And I know you can do it because I'm living my dreams, and even though they're much more complicated and they're much more artistic and in some ways important, I don't think that, but I think that normal people do. I know that you can do the things you want to do as well. Get married, have a kid, that kind of thing. So just keep after it, and I'm so proud of you, and thank you so much from the deep bottom of my heart for being a fan. I do it all for you. And I just wanted to say I love you and thank you.
So that was, I think, Tova's like first gift to me.
That is,
was a cameo from you.
I have to say, that is so funny.
It was a fantastic gift. Tova, I've talked about before the podcast. Tova is a master gift giver. A master gift giver.
Really?
Oh, unbeatable.
Does not give me gifts.
Not yet.
Does not give me gifts.
Well, you got to book a bigger gig first.
You got to do more work. You got to be a little bit more impressive.
No, it's astounding. And she said she has a list of like 12 gift ideas for me. She just has a good memory
Yeah.
for that, and inventive and creative, and the gifts that you did not see coming, and it's the gifts you didn't know you needed.
Yeah. Like that video, which was a joke. I knew it was a joke. I was in on it.
Really?
Yeah.
She just said that I'm a fan, and that's what I guess that's what you send all your fans.
No.
Saying
stop,
go back to
stop.
school.
It is also so funny to do that kind of like pretentious bit about if you want to own a home, something that is like like finding love and buying a home are so far out of
We're
reach
so
for me.
twisted. We're so twisted in our priorities. You're like,
It's
if
also
you want
not a possibility for me.
to me, like own a home, buy kids. Like in my head, I'm like, oh, so you gave up?
Yeah.
As I like do the fucking
Oh, you're gonna have a
1
loving
a.m.
life.
gig in Times Square for 5 people. I'm like,
Yeah.
you quitters.
Oh yeah, have
You
fun. Have fun
quitters.
with your safe, comfortable, loving life in a house that you own, in a place that you enjoy. I want to live somewhere hard and do something even harder.
Yeah.
And
Do you
I'm
still do the
complicated.
cameos?
No. You know what? Cameos, honestly, really difficult and strange, and was the only thing. I quit my day job.
What was your day job?
God, I had so many. The one I quit, the last one I had, hopefully forever, was I was an administrative assistant at an ad agency.
Oh, right. I had that here. Yeah.
And I quit it in January of 2020, or I guess technically February of 2020, to do comedy full time.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, you know how things went
Of course.
with the global pandemic.
Sure. I thought you meant your comedy career, and you were like saying it
I blew up.
exploded.
Yeah.
Wait,
My
so what did
comedy
you do at the
career
ad
exploded.
agency? Because I like ad agencies. I've always said if I wasn't in entertainment, like I did some commercials, and at one point it was like I went to the ad agency and I saw the awards that they have.
Horrible.
This like it was BBDO.
Yeah.
And they're a successful ad agency, and so they had these like gold and silver, bronze pencils in a way where they were like trash. Every office had them stacked up against the glass. And I'm like, guys, maybe these awards are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because they were just littered everywhere. They didn't know what to do with them.
They just win.
The lions, the pencils, it was all bullshit.
Yeah.
What did you do at that ad agency?
I worked at a couple ad agencies. Originally, I worked in social, so I did social media management for companies. Hated that. I hated every day job I ever had.
Were you good at that?
Yes. But some of them. I was good at most of them. I'm pretty organized and like but I that last one I had, God bless them. It's a miracle they didn't fire me. I was an administrative assistant to several executives at an ad agency. It was a cool ad agency. I liked most of the people I worked with. They only did nonprofits and like universities.
Mm-hmm.
So it was way different than doing like one of those big like brand like they do like Corona and shit.
Yeah.
But I hated it and I didn't do a good job, and I would like drop the ball constantly, like on the simplest shit. Like my boss would be like, hey, all I need you to do this week is book this flight and make sure it gets on my calendar. I would book the wrong flight and not put it on the calendar. And then they would come to me, and the thing is I would have the audacity to be like annoyed with them. Like they would come and be like, so you did book the wrong flight and it wasn't on my calendar, and we just will for next time need that to go better.
Uh-huh.
And I would be like, this fucking toxic corporate environment. I'm an artist. I can't thrive here.
Yeah.
And it was the simplest shit.
But who did you run social media for? Like what companies? What brands?
That lasted for so short of an amount of time. I quit that job pretty much immediately. But I did it for a men's razor brand. I did it for a family company of theme parks.
Uh-huh.
And I did it for an agricultural association.
And were you being funny? You remember any of your razor jokes?
No, this was not to be funny. I wasn't doing content. I was doing social strategy.
Oh.
I was doing posting. I was editing copy. I was that stuff was all for the creatives. They get paid a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I was a social like intern. I was doing like schedule this tweet or check the metrics on this campaign. Tell the brand how much. How many analytics or how many impressions they got from these Instagram posts.
Yeah.
This is, like the business side of social.
I think just the creatives and ad agencies, it's kind of incredible because like when I did this, it was for General Electric, and the team was all former playwrights, all people like
Yes.
playwrights in their 20s.
Yes.
And now they come together and they write one script.
Yeah.
One 30-second script, and that's got to be approved by everyone that's in General Electric.
Yeah.
And it's like an interesting, and the some of the commercials are very good. I think
Yeah.
they're very, but I just think it's such a strange to be like an artist and then only have this brief window of artistry, and then the rest is just like, okay, well, how do we make it on Snapchat, and how do we like it's, I'd go crazy, I think, but they're making a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't like ad agencies. My feeling about most of the people who worked at the ad agencies I worked at was that they were failed artists who were convincing themselves that actually it's really powerful to make commercials for Coca-Cola and Pepsi. And actually, you'd rather good people be doing it so that our advertising can be more ethical and cool. And it's like, you guys just wear jeans to work and think that you're like they call themselves disruptors. That made me want to kill myself. It just is a stupid environment where people who were not brave enough or good enough or whatever to go do the art they wanted to do.
Christ.
It's what they want. They wanted. They didn't.
Or they're using this to fuel, and then when they're 50, they go, you know what, I'm going to do a play again.
Sometimes.
And they do a one act.
Sometimes. But a lot of them, my personal experience, I'm not saying everybody who works in advertising is a failed artist who wasn't brave. In my experience, I worked with a number of them who were like, oh, yeah, I tried to be a musician for 4 years, and then nobody listened to my music. So now I've decided I'm doing brave campaigns for Michelob Ultra. And it's like, okay.
It is funny so I did these, the first round, these General Electric commercials. They were like, they got all this praise in the ad world because the joke was like, no one thinks GE has good. It was about like, I work for GE, and everyone's like, sorry to hear. And it was like a subversive in the commercial world where we were kind of saying people think our company's lame. And then
but guess what?
And people were like, but that's it. And then it was like, people were like, ooh, this is groundbreaking. GE is making fun of itself. That's groundbreaking in the corporate world. Which is
kind of cool.
It is. But then the commercials did well, so they did a second round. I'm very excited. And the second round was like, now everyone thinks GE's cool.
Oh, no.
And it was so fucking not funny. And I'm there in the room, and it was weird. They would be like, come by the offices. We want to introduce you to the CEO, like the little actor boy. Like, hey, we brought him here and we didn't pay him anything, but you get to meet him. You get to meet the actor in your commercials. And I'd be like, hi. And then they'd be like, go away.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing the new scripts, and I thought to myself, like, this isn't funny anymore now. This isn't going to work.
Yeah.
And I want to do more of these commercials. So it'd be cool if we made them funny.
Yeah.
But instead, they went that angle. They couldn't make fun of themselves anymore.
Yeah.
They had to be like, well, now everyone loves GE.
I think, look, if you work in an advertising agency and you make commercials for BP Oil about why they are actually a progressive and cool company, and you have convinced yourself that that is art and is edgy, I love that for you. I just don't think that I should be like a bad guy for not buying into it. I think I get to go, that sucks. You know what I mean?
Now, should your career go as one might hope, you're going to get an offer like many comedians.
I'll do it in a heartbeat.
Will you?
I'll sell out in a heartbeat.
For BP Oil.
If BP Oil if the money was right and they said, we want you to do a commercial, I will sell out too. I'm not criticizing these people. I'm just saying it's my view. Look, if BP Oil came to me and said, $2 million, we want you to say that you personally endorse us and we do good work for the environment, I would do it. I would do it.
Really?
Maybe. I don't know. $2 million? Very maybe. I don't know. Right now,
you have a friend group that some will say they will unfollow you.
Oh, that's fine.
You have some friends. I'm saying you're part of a group, and me too, to a certain extent, that if you become the BP Oil person, they're going to be upset at you.
Look, I think it depends on what the rules are. If I can do it and then okay,
and then shit all over it, in a video after.
Yeah, if I can do it and then I'm allowed to go do stand up about how funny it is that they suck and we actually all hate them, I'll donate some of the money to a good cause. Everybody can win.
Some money, sure.
Not all of it. I need it.
I remember George Clooney, he does commercials, his Nespresso commercials, all the money goes to a satellite that tracks human crimes in some particular place in the world. And that's his excuse.
I think that's beautiful.
Sure.
I think I keep my options open on selling out because I think that my feeling in my heart is, and has been, I would never do that. I will never sell out. But then I don't want to publicly put that out there because the time to sell out might actually come.
When I first started acting, I was in an acting class with some real Lee Strasberg deep actors, and they talked about they would never do commercials. And I was I was gung-ho about commercials from the day I set foot in New York.
Yeah.
And it was just very funny that 2 years later, they started getting a little hungry. And they were like, hey, how do I get into commercials?
Ooh.
And I was like, yeah, of course. Of course.
Because it's also I have it's not just about everyone has things going on that are like I would like to put my mom in retirement. I would like to, I had to go to a school in Missouri, which I loved and had a great time at, and it was the best thing for me. But I didn't get to go to any school I wanted to because my family does not have money. I'd like my little cousins to be able to like go. There are reasons that aren't just like I want a yacht, you know what I mean, to do well. So I don't feel weird about like but also. I don't feel weird about saying I will do things that suck as long as I can make fun of them. But also, do I think BP Oil is ever going to come knocking and be like, Caleb, we need you for the commercial? No.
Well, you foolishly gave your price point right out the gate. They know you're going to do it for $2 million.
Yes.
You could have gone 3, but you revealed it.
Well, when the time comes, Tova's
we'll going to be pissed as shit when she hears this.
They're going to say, we're only going to give him $2 million. He said that's what he's going to do. And I will tell my team quietly, try to get him to go higher.
Yeah.
I was kidding. It was a podcast.
So I did my research about you. I've always been a fan, of course. I've quoted your tweets on the podcast several times before.
Good or bad?
I don't cite them. I claim them as my own thoughts.
Love
that. Many times. So you grew up in Missouri.
True.
What are the downsides of growing a conservative part of Missouri? Is Missouri all conservative?
Yeah, but I am too.
Yes, you are too.
Yes, Missouri is very conservative. The area I grew up in was very conservative.
So tell me what sucked about growing up in Missouri.
I mean, everything you would imagine. I mean, it's like very Christian, very white. I didn't know an openly gay adult until college.
Really?
I look back and I'm like, oh, okay, so maybe one of my middle school science teachers, she lives with a woman. That's probably a relationship. Or like, but that was a secret. I did not know.
Yeah.
And when you come out, of course, the thing about coming out when you're from a small conservative Midwest Southern place is that all these stories come to you and when you come out. No one talks about anybody being gay. Then you come out, they go, oh yeah, Lisa's son who was blah blah blah. He lives in New York now and he's a hairdresser. And you go, oh okay. But no one tells you until you come out.
Yeah.
So during the scary part, you don't know anything. So yeah, conservative, religious, very white. Very straight.
Where did your knowledge of what being gay was? If no one was gay,
The church.
Ironically.
They bring it up. You go to church and they're like, being gay is something and it's bad. And you go, well, hold on. So you learn that it's something, but then immediately that it's bad. But you learn, really the first time you hear about it is in church.
Are they talking about during the Sunday sermon?
Yeah.
How does it come up? How do they bring it up? By the way, if any of you guys are having some thoughts.
No, it's like, it's always referencing something. So much of the preaching in those kinds of churches are, and I will say, I went to several different churches, and the church I spent the longest in was, a non-denominational church that wouldn't talk on the pulpit, at least that I remember, about really social issues at all. Like they didn't talk about abortion or gay marriage or anything. There were other churches that I attended from time to time with friends that did. But yeah, they do sermons about it. It usually is about current events. Like they will plan their sermons around like ballot initiatives or elections or whatever that are coming up, and it's like they're not telling you what to vote for because they can't, because that's illegal, but they're the ballot initiative vote is on Tuesday and Sunday's sermon is randomly an hour and a half about being gay or transgender or whatever.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So all right, so tell me what you said, non-denominational. I don't know a lot about Christianity.
Good for you.
Yes,
I'm happy for you.
I know. My parents, my dad had some mean nuns in high school that hit his hands or whatever, and he was out.
Hell yeah.
And then my mom's parents told her she could either have a bat mitzvah or a sweet 16, and she was like, "I'm out of Judaism. Give me the sweet 16
time." Yeah.
So I don't know lots, but what kind of Christian were you? Were your parents? Were you raised in?
So my mom I grew up in my mom's house. My mom raised me alone. She
divorced?
Never married.
Never married.
Scandal.
Wow.
Yes. So I grew up in her house, and she is religious, reads the Christian Bible, is a Christian, but does not go to church, has never gone to church. I really just think because she was raising 2 kids by herself and working 3 jobs.
You
and
have older or
school.
Younger?
Older brother. And
Same
2
dad?
older sisters. No, different dads.
Okay.
And so I think we were just too busy to go to church. And then, she never took us to church. I started going to church on my own because all of my friends did. So it was like, you get to like middle school and you're like, oh, everyone is going to church. I want to go to youth group so I can hang out with my friends.
So you're showing up on Sunday. You're putting on a suit by yourself.
No, it's Wednesday. It's
It's
Wednesday night.
Wednesday night. Okay.
It's also they
You said it like it's Wednesday night.
Wednesday
Things
night,
are cooking.
baby. There's a band. There's like a little coffee shop in the church. They give out free iPods. They watch The Office together before it's like culty brainwash shit. So that like the kids whose parents brought them to church will then go to school.
How are
and
they
be
watching The Office?
Big
But then,
projectors.
no, I understand physically.
The big
I'm saying like,
projectors, Gianmarco.
do they cut out Oscar scenes? Do they? I mean, the Office is a liberal show.
I don't think it. I think, but also Oscar being gay is there. It's not like it's like him and his partner lovingly having like a wedding ceremony. It's like a joke.
But I feel like it's pro-gay.
Of course, we know that, but I don't think it's so in your face that there was ever had to be a conversation about it.
It'd just be funny if the whole church is booing every time Oscar
Comes on and
the
they're like, boo, get out. No, I mean, it was a kind of progressive, like, you know, we talked about sex. A lot of churches did not talk about sex at all. And we would talk about sex. And there's always like the like white Midwestern youth pastor, like guy way to talk about sex is to be like, look, you guys, first of all, they split you up by gender because there's only two. And he could be like, look, you guys, I love sex. My wife is a smoke show, but God made sex feel good because it's only supposed to happen in marriage. So, and he would like, but it felt so cool because like older people and other churches would just not talk about it.
Yeah.
You know? And then, you know, you'd have like your cool young, like non-denominational youth pastors being like, I love sex. It feels good. Duh. But ultimately, you know what I mean? Like this, like kind of like faux candid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they would split us up, but it was like this cool environment where there was like a band. You didn't have to wear a suit. You could wear whatever you wanted. You could bring whoever you wanted. They were giving away iPods. Your friends would come to school and be like, you got to come to church, man. We're having a blast.
And when you're hearing him say this thing, did you think, well, maybe I'm gay at that point?
I started thinking I was gay. Well, there are things I look back on that I'm like, oh, third grade, second grade. There were things happening that did not click for me, that I was not feeling, that people were saying, like people were doing like, we're gonna go get married under the tree type stuff on the playground, and I was like, oh, that's not, you know what I mean? Like I was like, oh, but I didn't know what it was. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't like, I am a homosexual. But then like middle school for sure, I saw stuff on TV and movies and heard, and we talked about it at church, and I was like, oh, this. But that whole period of like, I don't know, like maybe sixth or seventh grade of like realizing what it is and, oh, that's me, to maybe like probably ninth grade, almost maybe 10th grade was just like, okay, fix this. Got to fix this. Pray about
That's
this.
how you saw it. You saw it as like uh-oh.
Everybody can feel a way. It's just like feeling, it's just like saying curse words or like feeling disrespectful towards your parents. Like, it's like, yeah, everyone has feelings, but you got to fix it.
Yeah.
You know, like through hard work, you can fix it.
I think it's this adult saying, my wife's a smoke show, and you're listening like, well,
I'm like, she's pretty.
She's got good fashion sense, I guess, but I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Like,
I can't recognize that she's hot.
Touch her body.
Well, I feel like for a long time, a problem that I had with figuring out my sexuality was that, and this is, of course, we know as adults, this is the gayest thing in the world. But I had so much reverence for women. Like I loved women.
I see.
I loved being around women so much and talking to women. And then guys at church would be like, I love my wife. She's my best friend. And I'd be like, all of my best friends are girls. I must be in love with them. But then, when I was thinking about anything sexual, it was not about girls or women. So I was like, okay, maybe. So then for a while, I was like, maybe if I can just do sexual stuff with girls, like if I can make out or, whatever.
Yeah.
Then I'd be like, then it would click. And that would turn on that part of like this Christian godly love. That,
sure.
So whatever. It's all bullshit. It's all bad. And
is that your view? I mean, do you look back? Sometimes I was a lonely kid. I didn't have community.
Yeah.
Family my dad didn't have friends. So sometimes I see religion and my girlfriend Tova has this like Jewish background and like has friends that they do, dinners. And do you look back on any of it and go, oh, I guess that part was good. I did get anything? Or do you say, throw it all out?
It's hard for me because the I don't keep in touch with any of those people. The friends that I
Did
still
they
have.
stop speaking to you when you came out? They were like,
No,
oh,
I don't. In fact, I don't even know that most
give back
of them.
the iPod.
Give us our fucking Nano, you faggot. They get to call me a faggot.
They look at the
They
playlist.
get to call me a faggot.
They look at the playlist. They're like, Liza Minnelli.
Faggot. They do. We want the gay iPod back. I don't even know that most of them. I have no idea what they're up to. I don't know where they live. I don't know what they do. I'm not on Facebook anymore. When I wasn't friends with them. I don't know how they feel about the world. I assume that a good number of them are conservative, Trumpy type people, but probably a good number of them are also not. Like everyone has different journeys with that stuff. No clue. But I just didn't really connect with those people. And the people I do stay in touch with from my hometown were not church friends. They were like school friends and friends I met through like student council type stuff or whatever. So the community aspect of it is not something I look back on and go, oh, thank God for that. But I do think that if there's anything I'm like grateful for that I'm like, oh, thank God I had this, was like, I feel like I'm a pretty good person. Like I feel like I'm a nice friend. I feel like I have good values. I'm not evil. I don't hurt people on purpose. I feel, so, and I'm like, would I be a worse person if I didn't, you know what I mean? It's hard to tell.
Are there certain moral lessons you feel like did stick with you?
Not directly, but just being around people who were talking about, when they weren't talking about weird shit and being weird, they were just talking about being good people and like taking care of your neighbor and you know what I mean, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm like, just being around that as a kid, is that the reason I turned out to be a person that I'm proud of and that I think my family is proud of? Or would I have turned out that way anyway and going to that stuff really just fucked me up sexually and mentally?
Yeah. I had a friend in college. He ended up coming out after college, which for musical theater, for musical theater majors, it usually at least happened in college, but he came out way later. But I remember he told me that he grew up religious and like, he was so scared. Every time he masturbated, he would cry after because he thought he would be going to hell for doing it. And I remember the kind of kid I was, like existentially angsty. If I had the concept of hell in my imagination, I think it would have truly haunted me. It would have kept me up
very
at
haunting.
night.
Yes.
Like, Tove and I were listening to there's some new show, Orthodox, some person who left the community, and there's something about like if your daughter is unchaste, like their version of hell she'll have to dress in clothing dipped in acid that burns their skin. Like that was just part of the lore. And I was like, if you really think about that, in eternity of wearing acid dipped clothing and you have any kind of imagination, it's a very upsetting. It could ruin your life.
I think that's why there's such a huge. I mean, there are other reasons too, but there's a huge pipeline between like devout good Christian kids or devout good religious kids into being artists. Is because the reason it latches so hard is because you have the creativity to be like burning in hell every day for eternity. You have the imagination to be like, I can picture that. Yeah, that sounds horrible.
That's why I don't understand people like, J.R. Tolkien or C.S. Lewis or even like a Tom Cruise, people who are artistic and like understand how the imagination can take you wondrous places, who still think this story was correct.
Yeah.
Like, J.R. Tolkien creates this whole fantastical world and still doesn't look at it and go like, oh, I guess someone could have done that with Jesus.
Right.
And it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I was in I think that the best thing that ever happened to me was that like, 10th, 11th grade through like maybe middle of college, I was just in a super antagonistic place with people who were religious. Like my favorite thing was to get on Facebook and post like an atheist meme. Like,
wait, so you said in college?
Yeah, like middle high school into early college kind of.
Was there a moment, what was it that really made you go like, oh, this is bullshit, dude?
The religion?
Yeah.
I think it was, there were it was a very layered, like multi-step thing. Yeah. And I think ultimately it ended up being about realizing I'm not going to be able to stop being gay. That is obviously going to continue to happen. I've really given it like a good college try and it's not going to go. It's not sticking. And that was part of it. But I do remember there was actually like in like middle school, I went to this youth group session that I remember so vividly. That was one of my big awakening moments where I was like, I'm going to keep trying this, but this religion seems kind of fucking made up. Was it what this girl in our youth group asked our youth pastor, like, what happens to somebody in a far corner of the world who has never been witnessed to and doesn't know Jesus Christ and has never been saved, what happens if they live their whole adult life having never heard about Christianity and they die?
One of the classic questions.
Yeah,
Like
do
that.
do they go to hell?
Yeah.
And our youth pastor was like, well, the Bible says that because of the wind in the trees, you should know God and that you should know Jesus is your Savior. And I'm just sitting there like, I wouldn't know that. If I was, if no one ever talked to me about Jesus and I saw wind in the trees, I wouldn't be like, a man died on the cross. You know, I would not come up with this.
Yeah.
And it was so fucking crazy to me. In that same session, someone asked about suicide. I think a kid a couple of times over had committed suicide. So it was like a thing we had to have like a breakout session about. And the fucking youth pastor guy was like, unfortunately, they are going to hell. And I was like, oh, like, this seems really made up. That seems insane. They're like 15. You know what I mean? Like, there were conversations like that all along the way where I was like, this is not cool. And then, but you're so scared. It really is the fear. You're so scared of the eternal hell thing.
What did you think hell was? Like in your mind, did you have a real picture? Like,
yes. Burning in a lake of fire forever, every day.
And you're floating in it? You're swimming? Are you just sitting, you're just screaming, and you
screaming.
see other people screaming? You're just screaming.
You're screaming. And my vision of hell as a child was it's like if someone lit me on fire right now, the way I would scream and the pain that I would feel, that every day for eternity. I was like, that is hell.
And do you see your friends? Do you talk to them?
You don't
or
get to see anybody.
You're just screaming?
Yeah, you don't get to see anybody.
Did you have a conception of what heaven was like? Like, did you see it? Was it just life?
I think as a kid, I pictured it like you live in the clouds with everybody you've ever loved and everything is perfect and you get to like walk with God and you get to know God personally after all these years of like just like trying to have you have these conversations, but you get to meet him.
Yeah.
And you just live in bliss. Like everything's perfect. It's like I think it was described to us at one point as like the happiest you've ever been on earth, your very best day, like your birthday or whatever. The time you've been happiest and around all the people you love, every second of heaven is that. So I was like, oh, that sounds cool. Mm-hmm. And the fire things honestly sounds really weird and bad. So I was like, okay, the goal is pretty clear.
Whenever I see, speaking of just the church and being gay, I see sometimes these Jesus depictions where he's looking good.
He's hot.
Where he's hot, and I'm just like, and there's all this
People
stuff
say
of like,
I
want to be with, to be embraced by my Savior, and I'm looking at Jesus. He has a 6-pack on the cross.
Yeah.
I don't know where he fit it in.
Yeah.
But there's just I'm like, why is he so sexy? This feels homoerotic.
Yeah.
There seems to be something about you want to be with him.
Yeah.
That is just a strange mix to me.
Well, it's that's like the whole thing with cults is like all of those like savior, like grand, like daddy type of like, it always morphs into weird sex shit. It's always about sex. It always comes to weird sex shit. The images, the relationship, all the church scandals. I mean, like all of it is sexual because they're all so fucking weird and repressed, and they don't talk about what's actually going on.
What do you think about when like
I love it.
The Vatican will like be like, okay, being gay's okay now. Like they clearly capitulate because they're like, we're losing followers.
Yeah.
We'll loosen this a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll say, okay, you're not going to burn in hell for eternity. 5 years if you're gay. Then you can go to heaven. Like they come up with all these ways to like kind of loosen it.
Yes.
Do you view it and do you just like burn it all to the ground?
What do you mean?
like do you want the religion? Would you be happy to have it just all disappear? No,
I don't
think
care.
Some people,
I think keep it. It does. I think it's necessary. I think so many people truly only get through life like average people. Like I think it's important to a lot of people that I know and love. So many people really only get through life, which is horrible. Life is horrible. There's so much shit going on that's bad that most people only get through life with that stuff. And I think that most people don't use it for bad. I think the average person really does not sit around and think about gay people or abortion or any of that. I think the average person who is not a fucking loon, like crazy weirdo, just thinks of religion as like this back burner, like flow of energy that's like, well, at least when this is all over, I have a nice thing.
Yeah.
And I think that generally is net positive.
I agree. I think sometimes with like the QAnon stuff, that's like what ends up replacing religion. I think people need this narrative really badly in their life of good versus evil.
Yeah.
And like QAnon is kind of like, I feel like QAnon kind of rises because religion has kind of lost its steam in terms of how it tells you to live your life. So QAnon is not like, well, there's these bad pedophiles and we have to get rid of them.
Yeah.
And so that's when I'm like, oh, well, maybe Christianity's not as bad if this is what's next.
Yeah.
It's kind of cult-like thinking.
Yeah, I think people have their crypto religions. Everyone has their thing that makes them. I think for some people it's the entertainment industry. I think it's fucking conspiracy theories. It's political parties. It's super hardcore environmentalism. Like everyone finds something to attach themselves to and attach so much meaning to that it gets them through the day. And I think it's not all bad that some people's that version of that is a religion that has done a lot of bad. I think for a lot of people, they're in Christianity or Catholicism or whatever, and those institutions are weird, but overall, it just gets most people to like get out of bed in the morning. And I think, okay, so we probably need that, or they will do a QAnon type thing, which is insane.
Now, can I ask about do you know your dad?
Yes.
What did you like grow up knowing him, or did you tell me your family situation?
Yeah, my dad is okay, so my dad and my mom were friends. They hooked up, and my mom got pregnant with me. My dad, I think, maybe wanted to be together.
And your mom already had kids.
My mom had, yes, my brother.
Your brother.
Yes, and my sisters are a whole different story. They are technically not. Okay, so we'll get to that later. My family is complicated.
Of course, please.
But my mom had my brother, and my mom was like, I'm going to have the kid. And I'm honestly mistake. My mom probably should have gotten an abortion with my brother and then with me, but she decided to have me anyway. And then decided not to be with my dad, but they were very cordial and like raised me kind of. I would go to my dad on like every other weekend my whole life. And they've always been like, not necessarily. I mean, I don't want to paint it like it was like a really healthy, productive situation, but they never talked bad about each other, which I've always appreciated.
That's fantastic.
And I think they both really like have a certain amount of respect for each other. And they both acknowledge that my mom is a good parent who did everything for me, and my dad did his best. And
now, was he wanted a relationship? She did not.
I believe that is the story. Yes.
Okay. Did it feel like he pined for her, or was he dating? No. Did he figure out his own life?
No, he never dated. I mean, my dad doesn't really date. He works and goes home, and like he's not a dating guy. He's also not a social guy. He doesn't really go out, and like he literally works, goes home. He's a gamer, and
he's a gamer.
He reads a ton. He loves like movies and he's like, my dad's a very inverted like smart person who enjoys, I think, reading books and playing games and like doing stuff like that. Never dated. I never knew the thing about him, and my mom never really cared to ask. I just knew they weren't together.
Yeah.
And then when I was like, I don't know, 17 or 18, my dad at Thanksgiving was like, we were just talking about life, and he was like, yeah, so this is kind of what happened with you. And I was like, oh, cool.
You never wondered what happened between your two parents?
Not really. I don't know why. Because I remember my dad bringing up that story with my mom and like how I kind of came about, and I was like, oh, cool. Like I really was just kind of like, I live with my mom and my dad's around, and that's just how it is. And my dad is like a really stern guy also. He can be very fun and like in family settings, but he's mostly just like a stern, quiet guy. And so I was never like, God, I wish my parents were together. I was thrilled that they weren't together.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have to spend much time with him. And we didn't have a ton in common.
Did you not look forward to those weekends?
Oh, I hated going to
Really?
Yeah, I hated going to his house. My dad, my whole childhood, I don't think my dad ever should have had kids. We'll start there. I don't
Did
think
they
my
have
dad,
joint custody? Or was it just a...
I don't think they ever did anything legal about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there was definitely a period of time where, I don't think they ever did anything legal about it. It was just that I lived with my mom and I visited my dad. And, my dad should have never been a parent, and I think knows that now, and he's grown so much throughout my life, and is now in a place where like, we do talk about his depression and anxiety, and like, we have had very long conversations where he apologizes for like, being such an absent parent and being like, yeah, I really knew I was doing a bad job. And he has so much insecurities around like, he didn't want me to have the kind of mental health problems that he has. And he thought it would rub off if we spent so much time together, like really like heady shit.
But now looking back, you said you didn't enjoy going to his his house.
No.
But he's like he should have been more involved.
Yes. So I would go there and we wouldn't do anything. Like he would just play video games or like do whatever. And I would just be at his house. Whereas like
What video games was he playing back then? Like
World of Warcraft, I
World of
think.
Warcraft,
Stuff
okay.
like that. Back then, I mean, this is like 2003, whatever that was.
I find video games, I like stopped playing video games before I went to college.
Yeah.
But I certainly know some guys who play video games as an adult, and fine. But some it's like I'm like, oh, you're addicted to this, or this like they do it in the morning, they do it at night, and I'm like, that's why I just didn't fuck with it because I'm like, I don't get addicted to things, but I get games, and I like just sitting and staring, and to have a parent like that, it feels. I mean, it's like dealing similar to what you deal with an alcoholic. There's other things that happen there, but it's an absentness, and
it wasn't my real life. Like none of my friends' parents knew my dad. None of my friends came over and played. We didn't like go to the park. We didn't like everything about my normal life as a kid. My like the sports teams I was on, and the places I played, and the people I hung out with, and like all of that was my real life with my mom. And then when I would go visit my dad, it's like I basically lived in a void for the weekend, where like. Didn't see anyone, didn't go do anything, it wasn't fun at like, you're a kid, you want to do stuff constantly.
Yeah.
And so it just felt like it felt like one weekend felt like 17 months because I was just like, oh man, when do I get to go do shit
Were you just
again?
watching him play? Were you reading? Were you watching?
I was watching him play or watching stuff together, but like never stuff that I wanted. Like if we watched stuff together, it was like documentary, like World War II documentaries or like stuff that he wanted to watch, which partially weird and bad to do to a kid to be like, turn off Disney Channel, we're going to watch World War II documentaries. But also partially like I am grateful for a certain level of like him showing me media that was like educational and like I learned a lot, and I really feel like I was watching adult stuff more than like other kids my age.
Yeah.
And I think it gave me it just gave me a point of view and a perspective that was like very different.
Do you have a lot of World War II knowledge? Like you feel?
No, but I don't feel like I actually know that. I didn't retain that much about it, but I did get into documentaries, and I did develop a love for like watching things that weren't just cartoons. Like I didn't watch a lot of cartoons growing up, mostly because my dad didn't, and I was like, I want to watch smart stuff.
Do you get anxious about him? Like my dad is a very like doesn't have a lot of friends.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a girlfriend right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I need to check
Yeah.
the on and offness of it. But I certainly have a fear of I'm like, man, I wish you would get some fucking friends because it feels like you get older, life gets very tough. As you get older, you deal with a lot of dark shit.
Yeah.
And if you don't have friends, you have whatever brothers and sisters you have that are still alive, and then your kids.
Yeah.
And do you ever worry about them?
Sure. Yeah. I constantly, and I wish that he would go do stuff.
Is he in therapy?
Fuck no, not at all. Yeah. I wish that he would go to therapy. I wish that he would date. I wish he would make friends. I wish he was social. I'm in a level of social anxiety that I cannot even explain. Like,
Do you have any of it?
No, but the scariest thing anyone has ever, like, people in my family will often tell me how my dad was when he was like 22. And he was extremely outgoing, like always everywhere, like what people loved him. And then he just like got into this depressive episode that has lasted since then, and he lives in now. And so that's impossible to hear that and not be like, when does mine start? You know what I mean? Like, when is that going to happen to me? But like,
you're just playing a video game one day and you're like, this is really fun.
I think I'll stay in the house forever. No, I don't have it. And I think that like, I mean, I do have depression and anxiety and things like that because I'm a smart person who pays attention.
Of course.
But I like people. I love being around people. I hate being alone, actually. But when I'm not around people, I'm like, let's get some people in here.
Yeah. And does your mom, does she dig your comedy? Does she watch? Does she come to shows?
Yeah, my mom has come to shows. My mom, I don't know if she did. She's very proud. Like, she loves to show her friends when I'm on TV or something, or she tells her friends incorrect things. Like, I will tell her, hey, don't tell anyone this, but I'm auditioning for the third time for this huge thing, and it seems like I'm going to get it. Or it seems like I have a possibility of getting it, whatever. Like, I'll tell her this confidential stuff because I want to talk about it. And you can't always talk to your friends about stuff like that. My mom's very supportive. And then, like, 2 months later, I'll be home and her hairdresser will be at the house and we'll be like, your mom told me that you're on Saturday Night Live. And I'll be like, incredible. I'm going to kill myself.
Oh, my God. That's so funny.
And I'm like, also, that's so fact checkable, but no one cares. They're just like, cool, he's on Saturday Night Live.
Do you just let it sit for a little, get to live that dream for a second? Yeah. Me, John Mulaney just did the show, and we're friends now.
No, I'm instantly like, that's not true. My mom doesn't know what she's talking about. Thank you, though.
See, I never tell my parents when I'm like auditions or callbacks because I don't want that question after 5 months later. So did that TV show ever work out? I'm like, fucking no, because I just asked you for some more money right now.
Right.
So clearly, no.
Yeah.
I did not book that thing. So I just don't tell unless it's a done deal.
Have to, because my mom is like my best friend. So like it's like not even like I'm telling my parents. It's like I gotta talk through this with somebody. I'm feeling crazy.
Yeah. I'm so proud. My mom, she lives in LA, so she's come to a bunch of these shows. And some of these shows, she's the oldest one in the audience because it's all kind of people in their 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And the host like kind of gravitates to her like, who do you know on the show? And she's so good now. She's like, no one. I'm just here because she knows just not to like. It'll be a whole thing. And like I have a lot of very mean mom jokes.
Yeah.
Very like cruel in a way that if you knew she was there,
you wouldn't have.
It's not gonna work.
Yeah.
People are gonna go, oh.
Yeah.
And
you mean Susan? I'm sitting next to her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I remember once early on in stand-up, I was headlining stand-up New York, and it was like a huge deal. It felt like a big deal. And I told the host, I was like, whatever you do not reveal that my mom is in the audience.
Yeah.
And from the back, from the green room, I guess the hallway, I heard the host like ask a woman, like, what do you do for work? And she was like, I'm a Pilates teacher. And I was like, fuck, that's my fucking mom. But she knew, and I didn't even tell her that time, but she knew not to reveal it.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of her.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That. I don't know. I don't think she finds me funny. I don't think she finds a lot of things funny.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I'll make the mistake. I'll be like, Mom, what do you think of this joke? And I'll tell her the joke, and she go like, it's not your best. And I'm like, yeah, of course it's not my best. I have one best.
I wouldn't be asking you if it was my best.
And she just like, humor is just not a thing.
Yeah.
For her, and that can be frustrating.
Yeah.
But she's proud of me. Of like, she can understand, oh, this was a good thing, or oh, people laughed.
Yeah.
Other people laughed at this.
Yeah.
But it's frustrating that she just doesn't get why. She doesn't get the thing in and of itself.
Yeah. My mom is funny, but I don't think she cares. I think if I told my mom, I think my mom genuinely wants me to be happy. And so when I, was in Chicago doing like shows for 5 people and making negative money, spending money to do comedy, I just, would call my mom, stress the fuck out, and be like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. And she would be like, okay, don't. And I'd be like, but I have to. And she'd be like, then do. Like she does not care. And
so
then,
that's how close you are. She's your call for those moments.
Oh God, yeah. Well, yes, those, and then also there's that particular type of energy where I'm like, I don't know if I've got what it takes to be, and then there's also, I'm a hypochondriac, and my mom's a nurse.
Oh,
so,
I would do. Let me tell you.
So
something.
we stay in touch.
I would do anything to have that because my mom's not a nurse, but I still go to her for that stuff.
Yes.
Last night, I got a weed pen that I bought at my mom's like 2 years ago, and it just had been at the house, and so she gave it to me, and I went back, and Tova and I were together, and it was like stuck. So, and I've had weed pens get stuck before, so you just like inhale hard, and then it like clearly whatever stuck, like it came out. And so like a little bit of the weed oil or whatever like got in my mouth.
Yeah.
And I started freaking
death
out.
Sentence.
I'm like, I'm gonna die. And Tova, we both have different kinds of anxiety, but she's like, all right, walk me through this. So what do you think is in the pen that would kill you automatically? That you could smoke though.
Yeah.
But it kills you automatically in the mouth. And it doesn't really work. I mean, my anxiety, I'm just like, I'm gonna die right now.
Yeah.
And I've had she's noticed whenever I feel anxious about other stuff, I constantly think. My Uber driver gave me a little treat.
Yeah.
And in my head, I was like, this is like, I ate it. And then the moment I ate it, I said, why the fuck did I eat that?
That was poison.
This is a serial killer. It's poison. This is like some weird thing that they do, and they'll never be able to track him. And he's just killing for fun, I guess. He doesn't even get to see me die.
Yeah.
And this is how far it goes. I threw the wrapper in the trash can. And that's when I started having all these thoughts. I'm like, I should have held on to the wrapper. So when they find me passed out, they can look at the wrapper and go, oh, he clearly ate this. We got to take this to the lab.
Yeah.
And
insane.
Yeah, that's my mind.
The crazy thing about hypochondria to me is that so much of life is unpleasant. There are so many things in life that make me go, well, I got to do that now, that I'm like, why are you so attached to the idea of hanging around? Like what? I get so scared of dying. But then the 15 things I have to do in a day, 14 and a half of them, I'm like, would be amazing if I didn't have to do this. You know what I mean? So it's like, what is the attachment about?
Where hypochondria, is there anything that recurs, any particular thing that always scares you?
Oh, I mean, I can get creative with it, but I of course have my like mainstays. Blood clots are a huge one. Get scared of blood clots because they can happen anytime. You might not know, and they will simply kill you.
Did the vaccine blood clot things scare you?
Actually, no. And it was insane that it didn't, because I got Johnson & Johnson, which is the one that was having the thing. It's really insane that didn't get to me. But as soon as it came out, I was like, I'm not worried about that. It's like 4
Wasn't
people.
it mostly with women?
Yeah, it was mostly with women in a certain age range. And also mostly, it was like 7 people out of 1 million.
Yeah.
Or out of like 15 million or something. I just was like, I can't be worried. Because also, I think there are times when I can be very logical about it, where I'm like, there is absolutely zero alternative. Like, the thing that scares me is when I'm laying in my bed and I think I feel a pain in my calf, and I'm like, if you don't go to the hospital now and you die, you in the afterlife or whatever will be so sad that you didn't just go to the hospital because they could have saved you. There's a different thing I could have done. But with the vaccine thing, it's like, I can't apply this logic of like, there was absolutely no other option. You had to get a vaccine.
I think you, in the afterlife, the flames of hell would distract you from thinking about it.
Your eternal pain and burning in hell in the lake with all the other gay people.
That's the one upside.
Yeah. And I do want to say, and I haven't gotten a chance to compliment you yet on the pod, your stance.
I know, I've been waiting for it this whole fucking time.
I wanted to wait until it was the right time. Your stance as a homophobic comedian is so powerful. I love that you're not afraid to say that gay people go to hell. I've always admired that about you, because so many people now with cancel culture and stuff are scared to say gay people will burn in hell.
You know, there's this belief we all have to have the exact same beliefs. Well, guess what? There's one belief I have that is not liberal.
Gay people go
at
to
all.
hell. Yeah.
I've been to a lot of musical theater camps. I know what I'm talking about.
And honestly, I mean, okay, we're kidding, but if I had been to a lot of musical theater camps, I probably would be homophobe.
Sure.
Because I have a lot of musical theater friends, and it gets me pretty close.
But that was my community. I've had so many. I mean, speaking, but like, I've had so many gay male friends over the years. It's funny. We're not at the party that the Tova, you had left by then. The gathering.
Yes, yeah.
But then, like, the moment I get there, I saw an old friend of mine, and suddenly it's just me and 3 gay guys, and it's just like, that's where I gravitate towards. It's like, that's just the group I feel at home with, I think, because of all the musical theater.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, I'm not.
No,
I will be in the lake of fire with you.
Don't walk it back.
I'll be in the lake too.
Be strong.
And I'll be like, this is not Satan. This is not cool.
This is not Satan thinks you're gay.
Satan thinks I'm gay. I'm
Satan's
sure.
Like, you keep trying to tell him, you're like, please, please, and he's like, nah, I don't think so, dude.
Well, I have some jokes because my mom, like, it's kind of a trope where there's straight comics being like, people thought I was gay. My mom, there is a part of her that really does believe, like, oh, I might be a homosexual. I think and in a good way, where she's like, I hope he figures this out,
right,
before it's too late, where he can still enjoy
yeah.
this part of his life.
Yeah,
and she really believes it.
Yeah,
and I think that's a nice thing.
I think it's beautiful. I get really disappointed at the idea of, I have a lot of straight male friends. Every single one of them disappoint me. The fact that they're straight, I think, is so upsetting. I'm upset by you being straight, or at least dating women. I think, when I think about my little cousins, the idea of them turning into straight men is so truly nauseating. It makes me look at them different. Like, I'll be playing with them, and then I'll remember, like, oh, someday they're gonna date people, and they might date women. And even when they're like 6, I'm playing and I go, fuck, I'm like, you need to go in the other room. I need a minute. Cause it's so, to me, it's just unenlightened.
If you found out they were gay, would you feel a certain kind of joy of like, oh, cool.
Instant of joy, immediate anger, jealousy.
Jealousy.
Now you're gay? You're going to be gay in my family?
Ah, I see.
I started this. I do have a transgender cousin who voted for Trump. And
incredible.
They are perfect to me. I love them because they didn't. I don't like them, and a lot of people in the family don't.
I'd love to have them on the podcast. I'd love to find more how it all makes sense.
I think they might also be a prison guard. I can't remember if that was them.
Incredible.
Yeah, we really lost touch. I mean, around the election, I said all my family members who voted for Trump and wouldn't have a conversation about it, I was like, we're done, and they were one of them. So I don't know what they're up to, but. it goes that way, you know?
That's what you got to do.
The people who would have a conversation about it, even if we didn't end up agreeing, who would like engage with me on it, I kept around because I was like, maybe someday. And I did get a few of them on the second time around. But the people that the first election were just outright like, fuck you, I'm not going to talk about it. I was like, cool. What would we be doing here? You know what I mean? There's nothing left. You have to go guard people at the prison. I have to go be cool. We have different lives. We have different lives. I don't know.
Well, on that, let's move on to. I know you read the email. Tova told me you're like you're a diligent guy.
I could be a businessman if I wanted to.
Yeah,
Tova. We were just talking at the thing the other night. Everybody at this table, of creative types were like, I could never be an agent or a manager, and I was like, I could. And Tova was like, you really could. I'm good at the little like, I take instructions well.
Yeah.
I read emails. I did read your email.
You did? Well, good. Well, then let's go to our segment. This has got to stop. Sound cue?
This has got to stop.
Thank you so much. Fantastic. Once again, let me give a shout out to Third Wheel Podcast Studio. This is my first time recording here, and it's been very pleasant.
It's amazing.
So far. It was tough to find, but in the building.
But
now that we're here,
obstacle
it's
course
fantastic.
vibes.
It was
but then you get in, and it's beautiful.
The journey.
Yeah.
This has got to stop. This is where we talk about things that this has got to stop. Parts of society, things people do. Did you have one that you wanted to share?
I think one that I've really been thinking on lately is the lack of gatekeeping around the word trauma. We're letting people say trauma these days about absolutely anything, and I cannot believe it. I literally had a friend recently tell me that she can't be corrected directly in a conversation because she has trauma around being yelled at by her teacher in elementary school. And I just thought that is the most fucking insane thing I've ever heard in my life. And I don't think you should be allowed to call them. Maybe you should, but someone should be deciding.
I don't disagree with you.
It should go to a tribunal. There should be some deciding board that says, can you call that trauma?
Yes.
And I'm not saying I should be on it. I'm not even saying she can't call that trauma. I'm just saying there should be a board somewhere that gatekeeps the word because it's gotten so used.
If I had a more extreme trauma in my own life, I might feel more comfortable being like, no.
Yeah.
That's not trauma.
Yeah.
This is what trauma
You feel
is.
trauma free.
I've had trauma, but I feel like I respect where I'm like, look, I'm okay. None of this trauma rises to the level that I should use this word or use it as a reason why I can't be corrected in a conversation. What does that mean? What does that mean? So if you say a falsehood, we should just proceed.
You're supposed to. I think the idea is like, if we're in a group setting and I say something incorrect, it's going to make me shut down and feel very traumatized if you bring it up right in the moment and correct me. I would prefer if you waited until later and we talked about it privately. And I'm just like, it doesn't matter that you prefer that. That's not actually how things. It's like, okay. I mean, I guess maybe I'll consider that, but I don't think I will because I think that's insane. I think that's an insane request.
Did you get that urge in the moment to correct her right then and there? That trauma. This is not trauma.
I think
you would have done a double hit on her.
I think my exact response was, okay. Because I was like, I don't want to, more than anything, I don't want to get into stuff. I just have my little opinions, and I think that
You take swings on Twitter, though.
And I hate getting into stuff. I hate when people, I do. Twitter is a snake pit full of pythons.
I think it's a very, this is where kind of your biggest following is, and you do great work on Twitter, but it is a tough place to be.
It's hard.
At that level.
People are mean.
You deleted one tweet that I jokingly gave you a little bit of shit about, and that was pretty minor.
Which one was it?
It was about, Twitter comedy isn't real. Real comedy is performing for 30 people at the Bumblefucks under Highway 30. And I said this, but unironically.
Yeah.
Because
you do think that, but unironically, we're very opposed.
No, I absolutely.
You hate online comedy. You don't do
That's false. That's false. Well, I do try. I know. I respect all kinds of comedy.
Yeah.
I think as a stand-up comedian, there's a lot of stand-up comedians that I think the new world does not lend itself to promoting their talents. Or I certainly know older comics who couldn't figure out social media, who still have 8 hashtags every time they put a tweet out there.
Yes.
And you don't know why they don't look at the news feed and go, no one's using these hashtags anymore.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to do it.
Yeah.
And I've written some of them and I say, hey, I love you. I love you, buddy.
Gotta stop with the
but
hashtags.
You gotta stop with the hashtags. You gotta stop.
Yeah.
But I do think, unfortunately, stand-up is this kind of weird collective pipeline where everyone who has kind of followings in different arenas or who thrives at different art forms also kind of gets put up on the stand-up shows and tours the Funny Bones. And I go, this is a strange that this has become kind of the collective pool that every other comedic art form ends up kind of funneling into stand-up. And I think there's a lot of bad stand-up comedy taking up rooms at premier venues. So there's a sensitivity there.
Because they sell tickets.
But I think there used to be a time where, like, you went to XYZ Comedy Club because you knew you were going to see good comedy there. And now it's like you went to the comedy club because so-and-so who you're familiar with, who's good at making 6-second clips.
There also used to be a time when a little man in a uniform dropped milk off at the stoop, and that's how you got your milk. Who fucking cares? It's so annoying. It's jealousy.
Of course it's jealousy, but
right.
I do think it's
So
unfortunate.
I don't have to respect it.
Sure. But you understand that if it was some weird bizarro world where like great stand-up comics got to do POV videos and they fucking blew chunks, and that there would be oh, this is bad. That's why you're very good. You're a very good comedian in every art form you've ever attempted. You're astounding. But you can understand.
Of course I understand
that stand-up is this. It's, for some reason, I mean, it makes sense because it's the easiest, cheapest form of live entertainment where you can just go, we're putting this person in front of a microphone, pay $25 to see him.
People will.
And it's tough, I think, to be in that art form. And if you like really love stand-up comedy as an art form, to see kind of Southern Mama just perform at every venue you ever wanted because he knew how to make funny videos where he talked like he was a Southern woman.
Yeah.
Going, yeehaw.
Yeah.
So it's okay to feel bitter.
Sure, you can feel bitter.
Of course.
You can make your tweets. You can do whatever you want. I don't care. And I do understand it.
I have trauma because
I have trauma around not being booked at the Funny Bone. I have trauma around not headlining Madison Square Garden yet.
Yes, I do.
Look, I do understand it. Do whatever you want. Stand-ups who hate internet comedians.
I don't hate internet comedians.
No, I don't think you do. I'm saying there is that contingent of people who you are partially in defense of. You're at least giving some space to. I think that's very kind of you. I feel no reason to give space to them. I don't care. They're allowed. Yeah, I think that you're allowed to. I don't really like doing internet videos. I mean, I don't do a lot of them. I haven't done. I do like one every 3 months. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I totally get it. I think it's.
Where are you happiest?
Where am I happiest?
Performance-wise.
Performance-wise, I think I am happiest doing something in front of a live audience. Sometimes that's stand-up, and then sometimes, but I don't feel the drive around stand-up that real stand-ups do. That they want. I don't really care to do an hour or a special, or I think of something funny, and then I do sets for a while, and I do this. I try this out. And I like it. Or sometimes I like doing characters more, doing like I'm writing a solo show right now that I think will be very fun for me. But ultimately, I'm happiest when I'm in a room of cool, fun people, and I get to stand up and say something that I think is funny. I have no concerns over like the stuff that I think a lot of those comics are very concerned about because it's their number one, like their art form, their craft. They want to be stand-ups. I want to be an actor and a writer more than anything.
Yeah.
So like I'm not worried about like the perfect setup, the perfect punchline, the crafting your half hour and then doing your hour and getting I just am having fun with it. You know?
That sounds lovely.
It is lovely for me. But I also by virtue of that get the privilege of sitting back on the sidelines and being like, you guys sound like idiots. You know what I mean? Like when these old like stand-up dudes do these like long screeds about like, yeah, fucking TikTok and now you got the Twitter video and they all talk like this. Now you got the Twitter. It's like you just look dumb. If you're not getting what you want and the only pathway you see to getting that is videos, then there are two options. You do the videos to go get it, or you don't do the videos and accept that you're not going to have it. But this weird thing of being like, I should still get that and I'm not going to do the one pathway is like, then go crazy, my dude. I don't know.
Yeah.
Have fun.
I think I feel sympathy for... I think there's a sympathy I have for older people, and this is in general. I think being older, some people like figure out technology, and some people don't. And I think, I remember when TikTok first came out, and or I remember Snapchat, which I never figured out. Like I felt like Snapchat was designed to be very challenging to understand. I was like, there's one button here. I don't know how anyone's doing stuff. And I think as we get older, if we want to participate in society, especially as an artist, it's like you gotta stay you got to learn when the new thing that everyone's doing comes out.
Yeah.
Some of them will fade.
Yeah.
Hopefully Clubhouse will go away forever.
Yeah.
But like, you got to stay on top of it, or someday you wake up one day and you don't know how to turn on the new computer thing because it operates differently than you did when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And it's scary. The march of technology is faster and faster and faster.
Yeah.
And I think I feel sympathy for older artists who just like, because sometimes I admire people who go like, I don't want to do the social media.
Sure.
I'm like, you know what? I think you're wiser than me.
Yeah.
Because this is not making me happy. But then they find themselves kind of locked out of a part of society.
Yeah.
And I feel sympathy for that.
Yeah. A lock that they turned.
A lock that they turned.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I think it is, I totally feel, if I'm being 100% genuine, which I guess I can do, yes, I feel sympathy for those people. That is sad. I think that my answer to them would be try and face that with curiosity.
Yes.
And not so much. I really do think, and this is maybe just a rule I have for myself, but if you find yourself doing like a rant about the youngins, when you find yourself in that position, it is absolutely time to step back and reevaluate.
Yes.
Because rants about young people are almost always just stupid and lame.
But what's so funny
Not
is
lame, weird.
there is some older stand-up comedians, and like the millennial shit with like their age group of audience
Yeah.
fucking kills.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so funny because
Yeah.
part of me is like, guys, we're in our 30s, kind of, most of us.
Yeah.
Like, we're no longer the kids that you hate. It's not millennials anymore. But millennials for them is just this branch of like, kids these days, millennials. And I'm like, we're older now.
And you know what I will say? If you are killing it, if your business is going off, you're selling tickets, you're selling merch, you're booking shows, and you're doing those like rants and that kind of material, and it's killing it for an audience, I'm so happy for you. I think that's amazing.
Of course.
I think it's stupid because I'm not your audience.
Sure. But I think comedians, there's also like comedians you respect for their comedic talent, and then there's people who built, followings and things that I'm like, I admire that you figured this out.
Yeah.
This is a tough game.
I respect the hustle.
I respect the hustle.
I respect the hustle. At the end of the day.
What's the biggest trouble you ever got? You ever delete something you felt really bad about on Twitter? Right now there's a new Twitter account, which I love. This is a sign of real fame.
Do you know who's doing it?
No.
I wish I hate.
So for those who don't, Caleb, and the only time I've ever seen this was with Jabuki, where someone made an account of tweets that Caleb has deleted, and they must follow you and take screenshots every time you tweet.
Yeah.
And when it's deleted, they keep a little collection, and every once in a while they throw it out there.
Yeah.
Some are very good. Some I go, why did he delete this?
Numbers.
Yeah. But I'm sure you ever feel like you were in hot water? You ever feel nervous?
I have felt in hot water. I don't think I have ever had to delete a tweet that I actually felt bad about. I'm pretty. I don't really fire stuff off with zero thought. I will sometimes fire stuff off with between 17% thought and 150% thought. They're anywhere in that range. And there are times that I go, oh yeah, everyone is either willfully or by some other metric misunderstanding this. And so I'm just going to take it down because I don't feel like seeing these fuckers comment, and I don't want to engage. I never want to engage unless it's positive. I hate when people engage with me and it's not to agree. But I've never had to delete something and be like, well, I won't say that. There was one time when I had tweeted a reaction clip of Dr. Umar Johnson, the black nationalist speaker. I tweeted a reaction clip of him in a joke, like me when I get my ice cream or whatever the fuck. I'd used a reaction clip of him in a joke, and several black people that I really respect have replied to me and were like, hey, you're funny, but this is no. And I deleted it and messaged all of them and was like, I didn't think, because like he also has said some pretty homophobic shit, so I thought when people use him as a reaction, I thought we were all in on the joke that this guy is kind of off. Like, he says some cool shit about black empowerment and black nationalism, and I'm like, hell yeah, that is not for me, and no one cares if I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
But when it did feel, that is one time I can think of that it felt pretty bad that people I respected were like, what the fuck are you doing? So yeah, I instantly deleted it and messaged them and was like, I'm a fucking idiot. I'm sorry, I didn't even think about it.
So when Caleb's deleted tweets finds that one and puts it up on that account, then it's out of your control.
I will feel, I want to know who's doing that. And it was as soon as I gave that account attention, like noticed it existed and gave it attention, people are like replying to me and DMing me and being like, oh yeah, you're running your own deleted tweets account, which makes no sense. Why would I put up the shit that I deleted? Like that, anyway, but
That's very funny.
I don't know who's running it. I love them and appreciate them. I think it's very funny. And I am tweeting with a little more abandon now because I know if I delete it, it's going to live on somewhere else.
What would you say to them if they're listening to this? I imagine
Whoever
they'll
runs
listen
Caleb
to you.
Said Things on
I feel like
Twitter,
they probably listen to your podcast appearances.
I would say that's funny. I think you're funny and that's cool. And I like that you're doing that. And it makes me feel, it does feel nice. It's like, it's not any attention that I get online. I'm like, I mean, it fades, but I try to be very grateful of like, damn, I come on here and just say stupid shit and people really care about it, which is cool.
Well, let's move on to our last segment. You count your blessing.
You better count your blessing.
Douglas Goodwin, composer, singer, fantastic. So this is where we say one thing we're grateful for.
Yeah.
I'll start.
Thank you.
I feel like we talked about hell enough that we can be positive for a second. I'm in LA and I'm very thankful. I don't know if she listens, but my mom has been helping with the driving.
Yeah.
And I basically come to LA and I say, so here's the 2 shows I have tonight. And she's like, one's in Malibu and one's in Orange County. And she's like, Jesus fucking Christ. And even though it's insane sometimes, she like figures it out. She'll go to the show. She'll see me do the same fucking set and she'll drive me a fucking hour to make another shitty show at a coffee shop. And very thankful for that.
I love that. I love that mom energy.
Because the Ubers have changed here a little bit. It is not super reliable.
It's not the golden days.
2 years ago, I swear it was an hour-long Uber and it was like $17. And I was like, Jesus, amazing.
Yeah.
And now these trips they cost what they're worth. And thank you, Mom. I appreciate you.
I got to tell you later about a rideshare service in New York that I was obsessed with when I lived there.
Via?
No, Get.
I've heard of it.
Anywhere between 14th and 110th, $10 flat fee ride.
Mm.
So me and my friends, we would just go. I lived on I think 117th the 2 summers I lived there. We would walk down to 110th, right below the mark, order a car, take it to 14th, and then if we were going wherever, and then if we were going further than 14th or whatever, even if we were just going to get on the train, walk.
Ooh. I'll check
Really
it out.
great. I don't know if it still exists or not, but it was amazing when I lived there.
If it still exists, please sponsor this podcast too. I will be
Hop
the
on.
spokesman.
Bleep
I'm
their
happy
name
to
if they
do
don't. No free clout.
And do you have a blessing?
Yeah. You told me I wasn't. Yours was kind of earnest and like sincere, and the directions
be
were that I
joking.
couldn't be. Directions were that I
No,
couldn't be.
No. You can be earnest. The directions were like sometimes people are like family. And I'm
So
like,
I can't be
"Shut the
vague.
fuck up." Yeah, don't be vague.
Okay.
But yeah, anything. It doesn't have to be.
I will do 2. I'll do my
Great.
little silly one and my little nice one, and I'll do them quick. My little silly one is the other day I took a risk ordering from a Chinese restaurant. I got a new dish. I could not find a picture of it on Yelp. Typically, I do not order something from a restaurant to be delivered unless I can find a picture of it on Yelp, because people do some crazy shit, especially when you're ordering from like a Sichuan restaurant. Different Sichuan restaurants do dishes very differently.
Yeah.
If they do shrimp, they might do the whole head on, or they might shell it. You got to know what you're getting
Sure.
into. I took a risk. It turned out amazing. And I really loved it. And the dish was so good.
Tell us what it was.
It was a spicy garlic shrimp in a spicy garlic, like black bean sauce, which I love. And yeah, it turned out it was one of those things where if you can't find a picture, specifically with shrimp, it could be fully shelled and be like 6 shrimps, the big ones with the head on. Hate that. Or it could be what I like.
I don't
which
like to
is
see the face of the thing I'm going to eat.
No. Or it could be what I like from a restaurant that does shrimp, which is those cheap, stupid little shrimp that are like this big, but a bunch of them in a sauce with some rice. Love that.
Fantastic.
That's my little silly one. And my real one is that, you know what? I was out of town working for a little bit, came back, started feeling sick. Started reading all this news about breakthrough variants. And I was like, fucking kill me. I got COVID, even though I'm vaccinated, and I did all the things right before the vaccine. And I fucking stayed in the house and didn't have any fun, didn't see my family. And I was like, I fucking got COVID. I know I did. And I was real sick for like 2 days. And then I was taking Delsum the whole time and cough drops and water and stuff. Bleep the name of the brand I just said because they won't sponsor. And got better. And I was like, oh, it can't be. You don't take medicine for 2 days and get better from COVID.
Yeah.
And got better. That's been days ago now. Totally fine. But I'm this isn't as vague as being like my health, but I'm just very grateful that I am not presently sick.
Let me tell you, I'm scared. I'm scared about getting caught. I mean, we flew to LA. This is coming out August 10th, but the day that we flew into LA was when we found out they're reinstating the masks.
Yeah,
and
we're sitting unmasked in a room presently.
So
who's to say, baby?
Fuck, man. But I'm vaccinated. But good. I'm glad that you're healthy.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Do you have anything you want to plug? This is coming out August 10th. So if there's any shows, make sure it's after that, or just do your social media, whatever you want.
Oh, I'll be. I'm doing a show. Check my social media. Because we don't have the official stuff yet. But August 24th. Or I guess. Hold on one second.
Okay, well, he's looking that up. I'm going to tell you, I am about to do a big Texas trip. I'm going to be headlining Rudyard's 2 shows August 13th, 2 shows August 14th. Then I'll be in Houston on the 15th, and then I'll be in Austin the 16th through the 18th. On the 18th, I will be headlining The Creek and the Cave. So if you know anyone in Houston or Austin, tell them, please, to come to a show. It would be great to see you there. And Caleb, you find it?
Yeah, I sure did. Kansas City, I am doing a show with Holmes, who I love, at the Deep Space Collective on Thursday, August 19th. And then August 24th in Chicago, I'm headlining a show at Sleeping Village in Chicago. So come to those. And also, if you like podcasts, check out my podcast on the HeadGum Network. It's called Keeping Records. And we talk about the original golden records that NASA sent into space in 1977. And then we make a new record with a guest every week.
Well, wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us on The Downside. And to all my listeners, just remember, whether there's heaven or hell, lake of fire, death will come for every single one of us.
Especially gay people, according to Gianmarco.
This is The Downside.
1, 2, 3.